The rain hammered the tin roof of the old farmhouse like gunfire from a grudge long buried. Each drop a reminder that home could turn on you faster than a cornered dog. Alex Harper slammed the screen door behind him, his boots squelching mud across the warped porch boards, heart pounding as if he'd just outrun the devil himself, because in Harlan, Kansas, that's exactly what coming out felt like. "You're no son of mine anymore." His father's voice echoed from inside, raw and ragged, the words slicing deeper than the storm outside, sealing a fracture that had been spiderwebbing through their lives for years. Alex stumbled down the steps into the downpour, the cold shocking his skin like a slap from an old lover, his soaked flannel clinging to his chest as thunder cracked overhead. At 28, he'd built his world around this land. The endless wheat fields that stretched like golden promises under the prairie sun, the creak of the windmill that had lulled him to sleep as a kid, the scent of fresh-baked cornbread his mom still left on the sill despite everything. But tonight, after the family dinner that exploded into accusations, it all felt like a noose tightening. His sister Lila's eyes, wide with that mix of pity and betrayal, burned in his memory. His brother Tom's fists clenched white-knuckled on the table, ready to swing not just at him but at the truth Alex had finally spat out. "I'm gay, Dad. Have been since forever. And I'm done pretending." The confession hung in the air back in the kitchen like smoke from a grease fire, thick and choking. It started innocently enough, a casual mention of a weekend in Wichita with a friend, the kind of slip that happens when you're tired of the charade. But Harlan didn't do casual. Not with its church steeples piercing the sky like judgmental fingers. Not with neighbors who whispered over coffee at the diner about those city types ruining everything. Alex's family had clung to the farm through droughts and debts, through his mom's slow fade into dementia's fog, holding it all together with prayers and grit. The house wasn't just wood and nails. It was legacy, the Harper name etched into every beam. And now, Alex was the crack in the foundation. He trudged toward the old barn, the one where he'd hidden his first awkward kisses with a farmhand named Jesse back in high school. Kisses stolen in the hayloft, tasting of forbidden salt and fear. Lightning forked the sky, illuminating the rusted tractor that hadn't run since his dad took ill last winter. Alex leaned against the doorframe, breath coming in gasps, the rain mixing with hot tears on his cheeks. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A lifeline from the city. A text from Ryan, the guy he'd met at that Pride event in Kansas City last month. "Miss you already. Driving back tomorrow? Let's grab ribs at Joe's." Ryan, with his easy laugh and tattooed arms that wrapped around Alex like they belonged there, felt like the first real breath after drowning. But Harlan wasn't ready to let him go. Not yet. As the storm raged, Alex heard the crunch of gravel, headlights cutting through the sheets of water. It was Tom, barreling up in his pickup, brakes squealing like a banshee. The door flew open, and Tom stormed out, his flannel untucked, face twisted in that familiar rage. "You think you can just drop that bomb and walk away? This is our home. Alex. Mom's buried in the plot out back. Dad's blood is in these walls. You don't get to poison it." Alex straightened, wiping his face with a muddy sleeve. "Poison? Tom, I was suffocating here, pretending to be someone I'm not. For you, for Dad, for all of us. How's that not poison?" Tom's laugh was bitter, hollow. "Suffocating? Try watching Dad cough up his lungs every night, knowing we might lose this place. You're the one running off to play house with some guy in the city. What about us? What about the farm?" The words landed like punches, each one dredging up the guilt Alex had buried deep. He'd stayed after college, turning down that graphic design gig in Denver to help with the harvest, to be the good son. But the loneliness had gnawed at him, night after night in his childhood bedroom, scrolling through apps for faces that looked back without judgment. Ryan had changed that, a barista from Chicago, transplanting roots in Kansas City with his art gallery job and unapologetic queerness. Their first date. Greasy diner fries at 2 a.m., Ryan's hand brushing Alex's under the table, electric and terrifying. "I love you, man," Tom said suddenly, voice cracking, stepping closer despite the rain. "But this breaks everything. Dad's talking about changing the will. Says the farm's for family that fights for it, not whatever this is." Alex's stomach dropped. The will, the one their lawyer had drawn up last year, leaving the bulk to all three siblings equally, with the house as the anchor. It was their safety net, the promise that the Harpers wouldn't fade into foreclosure notices. "He can't do that because I'm gay? That's bullshit, Tom. That's fear talking." Tom's eyes flickered with something like regret, but he shook his head. "It's not just Dad. Lila's scared for the kids' school, church, you know how it is here. And me. Hell, I need you here, Alex. But not like this." The barn door creaked open behind them, and there stood Lila, umbrella trembling in her grip, her face pale as the moonlight breaking through clouds. "Enough," she whispered, voice barely audible over the dying rain. "Just come inside. We talk. No more yelling." But as they trudged back, dripping and defeated, Alex knew the fracture was set. That night, over lukewarm coffee at the scarred oak table, the air thick with unspoken accusations, his dad laid it out plain. "Son, I love you. But this life you want, it don't fit here. Sell your share if you have to. But don't drag us down with you." By dawn, the storm had passed, leaving puddles like shattered mirrors in the yard. Alex packed a duffel in the dim light of his room, posters of Bob Dylan and faded wheat state maps curling at the edges. He paused at the window, watching the sun gild the fields, a pang twisting in his chest. This was home, damn it. But home had called him a burden, a stain on the ledger of their survival. Ryan's truck pulled up at noon, right on time, his grin fading as he saw Alex's face. "Rough night, huh?" Ryan pulled him into a hug that smelled of coffee grounds and city rain, different from the earthy loam of Harlan, but grounding all the same. "You have no idea," Alex murmured, burying his face in Ryan's shoulder. As they drove away, the farmhouse shrinking in the rearview, Alex felt the weight of betrayal settle, not just from his family, but from the land itself, the life he'd poured into it. Little did he know, the real storm was just brewing. The highway unspooled like a ribbon of regret, Kansas flattening into the endless nowherescape that always made Alex feel small. Ryan's hand rested on his thigh, a steady anchor amid the hum of tires on asphalt, but even that couldn't quiet the echo of his father's words. Burden. It wasn't just a slur. It was a verdict, handed down in the kitchen where Alex had learned to tie his shoes, where holidays had once wrapped them in warmth like a quilt stitched from love. Now, it unraveled everything. They hit Kansas City by dusk, the skyline punching up against the prairie horizon like a promise of reinvention. Ryan's apartment was a third-floor walk-up in the crossroads, walls splashed with his abstract paintings, swirls of blue and gold that captured the chaos of emotion better than words ever could. "Crash here as long as you need," Ryan said, tossing Alex a spare key that jangled like freedom. "My ex left half his crap anyway. Mi casa es tu disaster zone." Alex managed a laugh, the first real one since the blow-up, but it tasted hollow. That night, they ordered Thai from the spot down the block, eating cross-legged on the floor amid takeout boxes and half-finished canvases. Ryan didn't pry, just shared stories of his own coming-out war stories. The Chicago winter spent couch surfing after his folks locked the door, the first tattoo inked in a dingy parlor as a fuck you to shame. It gets better, Ryan said, his dark eyes steady. Not fairy tale better. Real better. You build it, brick by painful brick. By week's end, Alex had a temp gig at a print shop, mocking up flyers for local bands. His design I finally seeing daylight. The city buzzed with a rhythm Harlan never knew. Street musicians plucking guitars under neon signs, couples of every stripe holding hands without a second glance. Pride flags fluttered from balconies like defiant banners, and for the first time, Alex walked with his shoulders back. Ryan's fingers laced through his at the farmer's market, sampling heirloom tomatoes that burst with summer on their tongues. But the farm haunted him. Emails from Lila trickled in. Dad's chemo's kicking his ass. Tom's planting late. Rain washed out the north field. We need you, Alex. Not like before, but family. Guilt gnawed deeper than the ache of missing the open sky. One evening, after a shift that left ink stains on his hands like war paint, he drove back to Harlan unannounced. The 2-hour haul a blur of cornstalk sentinels and radio static preaching fire and brimstone. The farmhouse looked smaller in the golden hour, weathered but standing, like it always had. His dad was on the porch swing, oxygen tank hissing softly, a blanket draped over knees that used to chase Alex through the fields. Knew you'd come back, Harlan Sr. rasped, eyes crinkling in that old way, but shadowed now with something unspoken. They talked, or tried to, about the will, mostly. The lawyer had called. Dad wanted to amend it, buy out Alex's share to keep things clean. It's not about you being you, his father said, voice gravelly. It's about legacy. The farm's all we've got left of your granddad. Of us. Can't let it splinter. Alex's throat tightened. Splinter? Like what you're doing to us. I'm still a Harper. That doesn't change with who I love. The old man's hand trembled as he lit a cigarette, defying the docks. Love. That's a big word for something that tore this family open. Tom's saying you're selling out, talking to that realtor fella from town. Lila's crying every night. You want that on your soul. Betrayal stung fresh Tom. Spilling secrets to twist the knife, Alex stormed inside, finding his brother elbow deep in the fridge, pulling out beers like nothing had cracked between them. Heard you're ghosting us? Tom grunted, popping the caps. City life's too shiny now? I came to talk, not fight, Alex shot back, but the words dissolved into accusations. Tom admitted it. He'd called the realtor, floated the idea of buying Alex out cheap. For the good of the place. It was framed as mercy, but it reeked of erasure, erasing Alex from the deed, from the dirt he'd tilled with his own hands. You think I want to sell? Alex's voice rose, echoing off the rafters. This is my home too. But you all act like I'm the thief, stealing breaths you need to survive. Tom's face hardened. The brother who'd once shared comic books and midnight bonfires, now a stranger armored in resentment. Maybe you are. Ever think Dad's dying faster because of this stress? Your truth killing him slow. The words landed like a gut punch. Alex reeling back as if struck. He fled to the barn again. That sanctuary turned crypt, punching the wall until his knuckles split. Blood dripped warm onto the hay. A scarlet testament to fractures too deep to mend. Hours later, Lila found him there, her arms wrapping around him in a hug that smelled of lavender soap and childhood. He's wrong, she whispered. We all are. A little. But Tom's scared. Losing the farm means losing Dad all over again. Forgive him? Alex wanted to. God. He did. But forgiveness felt like surrender, like letting them rewrite him as the villain in their survival saga. He drove back to Kansas City that night, Ryan waiting with open arms and a bottle of bourbon. "Fuck him," Ryan murmured, pulling Alex close on the fire escape. City lights twinkling like distant stars. "We'll make our own legacy." Weeks blurred into a fragile rhythm. Mornings tangled in sheets that smelled of Ryan's cologne. Afternoons lost in sketches of logos that paid the rent. Evenings wandering the river market where food trucks hawked tacos and dreams. Ryan's art show loomed. A gallery opening where his pieces would hang for the world to judge, and Alex threw himself into helping, designing invites that popped with color, a rebellion against the grayscale of his past. But the realtor's offer came via certified mail, a crisp envelope slicing through the mail slot like a guillotine. $150,000 for his third, peanuts for the sweat equity. A pittance for the soul poured into those acres. Attached was a note from Tom, scrawled in block letters. "Take it. Start over. We love you. Love." The word twisted like barbed wire. Alex crumpled it, hurling the paper across the room, where it fluttered like a wounded bird. Ryan found him there, curled on the couch, eyes red-rimmed. "They're stealing my home," he choked out. "Not the house, the heart of it." Ryan knelt, cupping Alex's face with hands that had painted masterpieces from pain. "Then fight for it. Or let it go and build something fiercer." The choice loomed, a cliff edge between roots and wings. As fall painted the city in crimson and gold, Alex felt the pull of both Harlan's unyielding earth, Kansas City's electric pulse. Little did he know, the betrayal that would shatter him anew was already in motion, whispered in a lawyer's office back home. The gallery opening hit like a fever dream, the air thick with perfume and pretension, wine glasses clinking like fragile truces. Ryan's paintings dominated the white walls, vibrant storms of color depicting lovers locked in eternal gaze, bodies intertwined not in flesh but in spirit, a testament to the beauty of what society shunned. Alex hovered near the entrance, adjusting his borrowed button-down. The one Ryan swore made his eyes pop like prairie skies. "You're my secret weapon," Ryan had teased that morning, kissing the knot of his tie. Now, amid the murmur of critics and collectors, Alex felt exposed, as if every glance dissected his own hidden fractures. A woman in a sleek black dress paused before Ryan's centerpiece, a canvas of two figures silhouetted against a crumbling barn, hands reaching but never quite touching. "Raw," she murmured to her companion. Like heartbreak etched in oil, Alex's chest tightened. It was their story, unspoken, the distance between Harlan and here. Ryan found him later, flushed with champagne and triumph, pulling him into a shadowed corner where the buzz faded to a hum. "Sold 3 already," he grinned, but his eyes searched Alex's face. "You okay? You've been a ghost tonight." "Just thinking about the farm." Alex pulled out his phone, the screen glowing with Lila's latest text. "Dad's stable. Come for Thanksgiving? Please." The plea tugged, a thread unraveling his resolve. "I can't keep dodging this. It's eating me alive." Ryan's thumb traced Alex's jaw, a touch both tender and urgent. "Then face it. With me. We'll drive out, hash it like adults. No more running." The drive to Harlan the next day was a gauntlet of autumn gold, leaves swirling like confetti from a broken celebration. Ryan drove, one hand on the wheel, the other clasped in Alex's, singing off-key to Springsteen on the radio Thunder Road, that anthem of escape and ache. "Born to run," Ryan belted, winking. "But sometimes you gotta turn back first." The farmhouse welcomed them with the scent of wood smoke and roasting turkey, Lila's hug fierce at the door. Inside, tension crackled like the fire in the hearth. Dad was frilier, propped in his recliner with a tray table, but his eyes lit with a spark at Ryan's firm handshake. Heard about your art, Harlan Sr. said gruffly. Alex says it's something special. Ryan's charm worked its magic, diffusing barbs into banter over mashed potatoes and green beans. Tom was there, subdued, passing the gravy without a glare. For a moment, it felt possible, family as a mosaic, cracks filled with forgiveness. Stories flowed. Dad recounting the '89 flood that nearly took the barn. Lila teasing Alex about his city haircut. Ryan fit, somehow, his laughter a bridge across the chasm. But betrayal doesn't announce itself. It slithers in quiet. After pie, as rain pattered the windows again, Tom pulled Alex aside to the mudroom, coats dangling like hanged men. Lawyer called yesterday, he said, voice low. Dad signed the amendment. Your shares frozen till probate unless you sign over now. Clean slate. Alex's blood ran cold. What? You said buyout. Not this. That's not fair. Fair. Tom's whisper sharpened. You waltz in with your boyfriend, acting like everything's peachy. Dad's doing this for peace. Sign, Alex, or we contest it all. Drag your name through court. Small town talks. You know, the room spun, the holiday warmth curdling to ice. Betrayal, pure and venomous, from his own blood, twisting love into leverage. Alex stormed out, Ryan trailing, confusion etching his face. In the truck, words tumbled. The amendment, the threat, Tom's smug certainty that family trumped truth. Ryan's jaw clenched, hurt flickering in his eyes. Not at the Harpers, but at Alex for not telling him sooner. Why hide this? We're in it together. Or what's the point? I didn't want to drag you into the mess, Alex pleaded. But the damage was done. A seed of doubt sprouting in the silence that followed. Back in Kansas City, the frost deepened. Ryan threw himself into work. Late nights at the studio smelling of turpentine and tension. Alex paced the apartment. Phone silent save for voicemails from the realtor. Offers incoming. Act fast. Sleepless. He sketched feverishly. Maps of the farm overlaid with city grids. A futile fusion of worlds at war. The climax crashed on a bitter December morning. Lila called. Voice shattering. Dad's gone. Alex. Heart just gave out in his sleep. The world tilted. Grief a tidal wave crashing over denial. Alex drove alone this time. Ryan's I need space echoing like a slammed door. The funeral was a blur of black suits and Bible verses. Harlan Sr. laid out in the church that had baptized them all, his face peaceful in repose. At the reading of the will, the bomb dropped. The lawyer, a bespectacled relic named Mr. Ellis, cleared his throat amid the packed parlor. To Thomas and Lila Harper, the farm in full, free and clear. To Alexander Harper, a nominal bequest of personal effects, with the provision that he relinquishes any claim to the property. Alex's ears rang. Nominal. The word mocked him, a euphemism for nothing. Tom wouldn't meet his eyes, Lila's hand trembling on his arm in silent apology. He changed it last week, the lawyer murmured. Said it was to preserve the legacy. Rage boiled over, Alex surging to his feet. Legacy? This is theft. He was my father too. The room gasped, whispers rippling like wind through wheat. Tom finally looked up, face ashen. It was for the best. Alex, you left. We stayed. You pushed me out. Alex roared, voice breaking. Called me a burden. Froze me out with your goddamn threats. This isn't legacy. It's erasure. Lila sobbed, pulling at him, but he wrenched free, storming into the sleet-lashed night. The barn called, that eternal witness, where he collapsed against bales. sobs racking him like the storm outside. Hours passed, or minutes, time lost in the vortex. Footsteps crunched. Ryan, coat dusted with snow, eyes red from his own vigil. "I was wrong," Ryan said, voice thick. "Space? Stupid. I love you, Alex. Through this shit. All of it." They clung there, in the hay-scented dark. Ryan's heart beat a drum against Alex's chest. "What now?" Ryan whispered. Alex pulled back, resolve hardening like frost. "We fight, or we let go. But on my terms." The probate dragged like a wound refusing to close, weeks bleeding into months under the gray Kansas winter. Alex hired a lawyer from Kansas City, a sharp-witted queer advocate named Dana, who saw the amendment for what it was, coercion masked as compassion. "Undue influence," she declared over coffee in her cluttered office, files stacked like battlements. "Your brother's got motive, financial desperation. And your father's health? Clouds judgment. We contest." But contesting meant war. Depositions dredging family secrets. Tom's emails unearthed like buried mines. Lila caught in the crossfire. Her pleas via text a daily dagger. "Please, Alex, drop it. For me." Ryan stood firm, his presence a quiet fortress, cooking breakfasts of eggs and optimism, dragging Alex to open mics where he shared poems of loss and light. The crowd snaps a bomb on raw nerves. Spring thawed the fields, green shoots piercing the earth like hope's tentative fingers. Alex's designs caught fire. A local brewery commissioned a rebrand, his wheat-inspired logos evoking roots without the rot. Money trickled in, enough for a deposit on a studio space in the West Bottoms, where he and Ryan dreamed of collaborations, art meeting ink in symbiotic strokes. Yet the farm loomed, a specter in every sunset. One muggy afternoon, Dana called, "Settlement offer. They buy you out at full third, $450,000. No contest." Tom's desperate. Crop prices tanked, debts piling. Alex stared at the skyline from their fire escape, Ryan's head on his shoulder. Sell. The word tasted of surrender, but also release, the chance to rewrite the narrative. Not as victim but victor. "Do it," he said finally. But on paper, full value, and a clause for Lila's kids to visit anytime. No grudges. The closing was anticlimactic. A sterile conference room in Wichita, signatures scrawling like final breaths. Tom was there, hollow-eyed, extending a hand that Alex shook. Not warmly, but without venom. "Sorry," Tom muttered. "For all of it." "Me too," Alex replied, the words a bridge half-built. Lila hugged him fierce outside, whispering, "You're still family. Always." As he drove away, the farmhouse fading in the mirror, tears blurred the road. Not just grief, but gratitude for the scars that shaped him. Back in Kansas City, the money burned a path forward. Alex and Ryan pooled it with savings, buying a fixer-upper row house in Soulard, St. Louis calling with its arching promise of Midwestern heart and big city pulse. They crossed state lines one humid June dawn, U-Haul groaning under canvases and dreams, Ryan's playlist blasting Born to Run as they crested the hill into the gateway city. The house was a charmer. Victorian bones with sagging porches and ghosts in the wallpaper, but windows that caught the Mississippi's gleam like diamonds. They painted walls in Ryan's blues, hung Alex's prints of hybridized horizons, prairie meeting river, legacy reclaimed. Neighbors waved from stoops, a mix of transplants and lifers, pride flags mingling with Cardinals banners in unselfconscious harmony. That first night, they christened the backyard fire pit with esmores and stories, flames dancing shadows on their faces. To rewriting, Ryan toasted, clinking bottles. Alex leaned in, kissing him slow and sure, the world narrowing to the warmth between them. Months unfolded like a well-worn novel. Alex's freelance bloomed into a boutique agency, specializing in queer-owned brands. His TEDx talk on designing identity going viral in niche circles. Ryan's gallery shows sold out, critics praising his humanist fury. They adopted a mutt named Harlan, irony laced with affection, and hosted brunches where Lila visited with the kids, her laughter thawing old ice. Betrayal's echo lingered, a faint scar, but it taught Alex the truth of home. Not land or blood, but the chosen kin who see your fractures and love the mosaic. One crisp fall eve, as leaves carpeted the streets, Alex proposed not with rings, but with a custom sketch. Two figures entwined under an arch of wheat and stars, captioned Our Legacy. Ryan's yes was a vow, sealed with tears and tangled limbs, the city lights winking approval. Years later, at their commitment ceremony in Forest Park, oaks whispering blessings, friends toasting with craft IPAs, Alex glanced at Tom in the crowd, silver threading his hair, a nod exchanged like olive branches. The farm thrived under new hands, but Alex's roots ran deeper now, nourished by rain and resolve. He'd been called a burden once, a weight to be shed. But in selling the home they claimed, he'd unearthed his own foundation, solid, sprawling, alive with the colors of a life unapologetically his. And in Ryan's eyes, he saw his future reflected. Not rewritten, but revealed, bright as the American dawn.